the long-term financing, the very fundamental principle of this long-term financing is really to finance the expansion and other strategic capital projects of the company. So it requires a huge amount of money. So we have the equity capital, preference capital, debentures, term loans, retained earnings. Okay, let's start with the equity capital. So the process of raising capital by selling ownership stakes in a company to the investor. Okay, so this long-term financing debenture. So debentures, here an example, is a document issued by a company acknowledging its indebtedness to the bearer or the registered holder. So a fixed rate of interest is payable at stated periods on such debenture. So in a sense, all debentures are bonds, but not all bonds are debentures. So whenever a bond is unsecured, it can be referred to as debenture. So typically, a company issue this to raise capital, to meet the capital expenditure or the upcoming projects, or to pay planned expansion in the business. So this is either floating or fixed interest coupon rate return. So when the interest payment is due, the company will pay the interest before they pay the shareholders dividend. So unahon gyud ang mga utang. So before the preference, before the ordinary shares, unahon gyud ning bonds and debentures. So when talking about debentures, the issuer now is the issuer of this is the corporation, selling them to raise funds. Whereas the investor is the individual or the entity that purchased the debenture. So this is typically issued for a specified period of time, and then after which the principal is returned to the lender as well as the interest. Okay, so the types of debentures, we have registered versus the bearer. Registered debentures are recorded in the issuer register, and all transactions must be noted within that registry. Bearer, on the other hand, bearer debentures belongs to the holder in possession and don't require such registration, making them more easily transferable. And we also have redeemable versus irredeemable. Redeemable have a fixed maturity date requiring the issuer to repay the principal amount of that by that time. And then the irredeemable have no such maturity date, making them more flexible for the issuer but riskier for the investor. We also have the convertible versus non-convertible. So convertible debentures can be transformed into equity shares of the issuing company after a specified period. So this conversion is typically at the discretion of the debenture holder. So on the other hand, the non-convertible, it is remain as debt for the entire term. Okay, so retained earnings also is another source of a long-term financing. This is the accumulated profits, or because we are using the funds for the long term. Okay, so refers to the internally generated funds by the business operation, and then also another source of funds to finance the acquisition of fixed assets or long-term projects. And this is appropriated. The appropriated portion of the retained earnings is no longer available for the declaration of dividends.